twisted it, so I was scared that something might happen to it, but I see that it functions, so I'm not worried. I just got really dizzy and felt sick.
Sorry, hon, I didn't take a picture.
You had one job.
Hey, welcome back. So I left you on that little bit of a cliffhanger from the last video that Hinky had a crash, and as you see there, she's going to be alright. And as you can see right here, she's back on the bike and we're moving again. So where are we now? Well, we're right about here, kind of in the northeast corner, and we're working our way around the Golan. We're truly deep into the Golan now, and this day just keeps getting long, and it's going to get longer. We're working our way up and down a lot of valleys, and now we're kind of in the very high parts of the Golan, although certainly not the highest. You can see that little mark right there on the rock, that white with the blue stripe through the middle, which is very reminiscent of the Israeli flag. That just tells us we're on the Israel National Trail, and we're just doing a little nav check here, and that confirms it, so we'll be on our way. We're deep into the day now. We've been riding since early morning, and it is probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon now, I think closer to 3. The temperatures have been around 35, 36 degrees Celsius. We're starting to wear down, although, well, maybe not everybody. Maybe I shouldn't speak for the rest of the crew, but I'm starting to wear down. But I like this stuff. And because I like riding on the rocks and playing in the rough stuff, I'm going to go back up and see how everyone else is making out. And maybe I'm not alone in being worn out and kind of worn down by the day's heat and the length of the journey.
There's a line there. There's just one big rock in the way.
To avoid a traffic jam in the middle of nowhere, the path for us was hard to the right along this fence line. It's got some challenges with some of the rocks, but that's okay. The trucks have their own challenge to get up that little rocky climb that I just buzzed my way to the top. And now you're on and Henke know which way to go. If you remember from the first video, Ronnie's hand was quite painful and hurting her, and that's still true now. And it's not too long after this that Ronnie's going to elect to jump up on the roads and head home. Since that crash, Hen's been riding a little bit more tentatively. I think it's playing up in her head, and that's easy to happen. We all know it. Every one of us that rides, we've been there, and a long day, hard riding, the heat, starting to kind of wear us all down.
Everything is harder after a fall.
Yep. Sec.
Second.
Okay, pull.
Still in pain.
You got the bike?
Just pull this thing out.
We do get down that hill safely and take a little bit of a breather, drink some water, regroup, and make our way to this spring. And this is where Ronnie's going to leave us after we kind of dip our feet in the spring for a little while and catch our breath, because we've still got a long way to go. we sat at that spring for a little while, dipped our feet in, drank some water, took some energy bars, and got back on the trail. Like I said, we still got a long way to go. Well, I can tell you right now, it's going to be a lot more than an hour, and we've got a few more obstacles to get through before we get to our campsite for the night, which is going to take us back down by the Sea of Galilee.
I know it's hard. I did this on one of my trips. I lost my my downhill nerve, and it just gets so hard. Because that there, you start to panic, pick up speed. You just focus on picking up speed, not looking ahead. You start to push harder on the brakes. On these kinds of hills, not get into your head. Just there's no real fixing it. It's just rest. Small successes to build up to big hills again.
Well, there's my Dr. Dave moment. I'm commenting on Hen's kind of riding, where she's riding very stiff and uncomfortable and just nervous on the hills. And there's no fix for that but some rest.
So, I think as I said earlier, Hen crashed on something like this and she just crashed again. She hurt her leg a bit. So we're helping her get the bike down, but unfortunately that means leapfrog. And it is so hot. Any amount of hiking up the hill after you've been riding all day. Let's see what my heart rate is. I don't believe you, it says 90. I was climbing fast now. This is a really ugly hill.
Not a lot of rest for me. I was leapfrogging the bikes down this rough hill, which meant I had to hike back up to get my bike after taking Hen's down. And yeah, I was getting my PT in for the day for sure. Hear me intermittently dragging the rear brake, and that's because none of these rocks were fixed in place. They were quite loose and willing to roll under your front tire and take you out.
A nightmare.
Yeah, it's a good workout.
Huh?
But my heart rate monitor's lying.
Nightmare.
It's okay. We're almost there.
Let's finish this day.
Yeah, we'll relax and...
Thank you, David, really.
Of course. So I haven't burned 4,000 calories yet today, so I gotta work harder.
How many did you burn? 3,190?
3,542.
Ah, very good.
Huh? Up to your airbox?
Yeah.
Did you drown your bike?
No, I'm okay with my bike. Here's a deep one. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that one's... And there's a rock in there too. There's a rock in there. I come get you. Yeah. That way it can't drown. I'm just more the rocks.
I was pretty tired at this point, and the last thing I wanted to do was take someone else's bike and try and ride it across, bang into one of these rocks and fall over and drown the bike, so it just seemed to be a bit more prudent to walk it across.
I need to give you a hug right now. Really.
Thanks forever. Okay, we got the bikes across. No drowned bikes. I think everybody's getting really tired. It'll be good to get to wherever our camp's going to be. I was going to break loose from the gang today, but I'll be closer at the onset of tomorrow than I would have been if I had went cross country. I think the camera was running when it said Tiberias, so we'll ride a bit more and then I'll be closer.
The camera here and the colors almost do it justice, but the way the sun was kind of getting lower in the sky and shining against these fields was pretty spectacular. And the temperatures were finally coming down to a nice 34 degrees, so it was cooling off a bit.
I love this little bike.
And I really did love that little bike. That thing ran great for me for the entire time that I had it, and I hope it did well for the next owner, whoever that was. But I never thought I'd take a two-stroke as far as I took this little bike.
Oh, I hope the camera's still running.
We're due north of the Sea of Galilee now, and here in the Golan, this is where the scene of some of the big tank battles were. And coming up here in a minute, not this scrap here on my left, but you'll see it in just a second, there's a T-54-55 hull, which is a Russian-built tank that the Syrians had used. And if you can imagine hundreds of these tanks here in the hills firing down into the lowlands as you're trying to fight up to them, or some of the battles using this varied terrain and the undulating terrain, and very difficult terrain, you can imagine how rough that was. And another thing you can imagine is if you're in your 40s, chances are your parents would have fought in this war if you were in Israel at the time.
T-54 maybe, I don't know. No, wrong way. I'd be remiss if I didn't get a picture looking down from the Golan area, north or south into the Kinneret, with a tank and a bike. None of my other friends and my colleagues in my group will get something like that. So.
Well, I'm certain most everybody that was here with me on this deployment saw a lot of Israel in their own way, but it's pretty unique to do it on a dirt bike. And I did ride from the Negev, the Judean, to here in the Golan Heights, and pretty much every place in between, from the border with Egypt to Syria to Lebanon. And you get to see a lot of stuff. And on the other side of that equation, you get to meet a lot of people.
This area in the end.
Okay.
We want to sleep over near the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah. That goes out onto a big plain, so we have to get down in that valley a bit.
So let's go over there.
So the plan there that Yaron was talking about was we needed to get down to the Sea of Galilee because that's where we were going to camp along its shores for the night. And it's going to take us a while to get there.
Who the fuck built this road anyway?
In retrospect, I kind of laugh at myself when I was watching this video because it's pretty clear now what made this road. And what made this road is a tank. That's about the only thing tract-wise that would be up here for any reason. I'm sure you could get a bulldozer up through here, but it would take an awful long time to get it to move because bulldozers move slow and tanks move rather quickly.
Fucking tank or something come up with.
And I'm still playing guessing games. But the tank in question was the Merkava. And that tank is generations ahead of the original tanks that they were building. And how Israel came to have tanks in the first place? Well, that's a pretty interesting story and involves a few British soldiers defecting and smuggling tanks into Israel, and then a whole bunch of innovation past that.
Wow. It's getting to be a hard day. People are getting tired and struggling. Me too. I'm one of them.
Well, we're working our way down this last steep hill, and Anne's elected to walk the bike rather than trying to ride it, and I can understand that. If you've ever been anywhere where heavy machinery's operated, it takes all the soil and the rock and it beats it into powder, and that powder becomes pretty slippery when it's on top of hard surfaces like some of these boulders.
Look at that. That's a good looking bike right there. You deserve a drink. Man, I would murder a beer right now.
So it's been a really long day, and this has been a fairly long video and a bit of a video series, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. What I'm going to do now is kind of wrap things up before the camera runs out of juice, which it's going to do, and there won't be any more video to kind of close this off. So let me tell you what happened. We end up getting down to the lake, we do set up camp, and within an hour or two we're joined by, I think, 2 or 3 other riders who come to camp for the night and ride the following day. And it was the following day where I got the picture with the tanks, because we rode into an encampment of these tanks parked up on the hill out on exercise, and they were gracious enough to allow me to take that picture. There is one other little experience that I'd comment on, and unfortunately don't have video of, but one of the guys that joined us that night on his KTM 500, he and I were pretty evenly matched, and the following day we rode terrain like this at pretty high speed, just having that ball riding side by side and playing on the terrain. And that kind of was another memory that stuck in my mind from this trip. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this video series. I've got another one in the pipe there for a ride that I did down in the Negev desert, so maybe I'll fire that up next.